Hello and welcome to today's historic Best of 3 deck tech and gameplay video on green-white Hardened Scales. As you can tell from previous videos done, and not to mention the last green and black Hardened Scales, I love Hardened Scales as an archetype. It's pretty straightforward and pretty good old-fashioned magic, where we summon big dudes thanks to cards like Hardened Scales and Conclave Mentor, and even things like Tenacious Pup. You can summon them and bring them into play at a cost that is ahead of where they should be on the curve, therefore gaining a little bit of tempo, or I would say ramp, but whatever word you want to use, it's not really too important. With all of these, say, accelerated creatures that benefit from them, again, like the Mentor, the Acolytes, or all of our X cost 1/1 or our X cost 1/1 counters style cards, we wanted to simply hit the board very early on, develop a relatively good-sized board, both in width and in height, as it were, and we want to translate that into just beating our opponents until they're no longer alive. Our relative support cards are enablers, really, are cards like Conclave Mentor and Tenacious Pup, and even Blessing of Frost to help distribute 1/1 counters and turn that into various advantages, be it, large late game finishing bodies like in Stonecoil, or large board buffs in, say, like Mikaeus and Blessing of Frost. We do have bits of interaction here and there, like basically Fateful Absence is our biggest point of interaction. We are, being a Lurrus deck here, primarily an aggressive deck. We don't really interact that much. We are more so looking to, in game one, just old school hit our opponent until they're not alive. The land base, relatively simple, running any sort of, if you are at home, run any sort of green and white lands that come into play untapped wherever possible. We are also running snow lands for cards like Blessing of Frost, since we actually want to use both aspects of the Frost, both giving our board +1/+1 counters, as well as the ferocious card draw effect that can sometimes occur from it also. So we do want to run snow lands. We have one of each of the creature lands here as just general mana sinks if we happen to flood out, as well as giving us even more potential late game power. A slight note also before we go into the games that you may or may not see: Lurrus, when you are trying to reanimate something with Lurrus that is an X cost card, I have now learned you can only cast it for a maximum of 2 total mana. So say a Stonecoil can only be X equals 2, or a Mikaeus can only be an X equals 1. But when you are playing it from your hand, normally you can cast the X cost cards for whatever you want the value to be. I know personally that I was confused by this interaction when I first started, but I have since gone onto the internet and looked at things like Gatherer and various sources online to confirm this. That is the way this particular interaction works. That is all of the main deck out of the way. The side deck is relatively self-explanatory. Some Thalias for a sort of hosing tax effect on opposing non-creatures. We also have Tocatli Honor Guard for things like cat ovens and the general little trickle-in bits of enter the battlefield synergies, but it's like primarily for cards like, say, the cats and cat ovens and stuff. It does, however, be in mind if you bring in the Honor Guard, it does turn off things like Tenacious Pup or any of these enters the battlefield with X/1/1 counters, so do be mindful. It's a little bit of a non-synergy, but this is more so a card we bring in solely for other decks that are really hoping to abuse it, like Flicker decks or the occasional cat oven decks. Have Scavenging Ooze for both graveyard hate and a little bit of life gain, though usually it's more for the graveyard hate, and the fact that all of that graveyard hate turns into 1/1 counters, again from cards like Mentor and Hardened Scales and even Animation Module. We can also do more with those 1/1 counters. We have 3 Dromoka's Command for a little bit more interaction if we feel like we're going to need to fight for the board more often. Also, the ability to force opponents to sacrifice creature enchantments is relatively useful against the what I call the Squirrel Twin combo, You can force them to sacrifice their Heliod's or their whatever that 1 mana Soul Sister effect card is. I don't remember. The ability to interact with that at instant speed is very useful. Otherwise, you just lose to that combo almost immediately. Same reason we are running Forsake the Worldly. Besides being just general artifact and enchantment hate if you feel it's necessary, it is also instant speed exiling of a Heliod or that other 1 mana enchantment version of that. It's instant speed and exile, so it gets around any sort of indestructible effect that might somehow happen. We also run 2 Wrath of Gods as a general panic button, since decks like Elves or even Merfolk or other aggressive decks that want to go wide can very quickly go wider than we can. So the ability to panic button, blow up our own board is nice, and since we are running Lurrus, it's not a guaranteed loss if we wrath our own board, since we can Lurrus back all of the creatures and such in our main deck. And that is our deck tech. We will go now into game number 1. And match number 1 with our green-white Hardened Scales list. 4 lands, 3 spells, multiple things to do early on. Totally good, a very no-brainer keep. White from our opponent. Are we going to see... Ooh, they have the Bob Roslings. Selfless Saver usually only sees play in auras. But anywho, we'll go ahead and Temple Garden and Hardened Scales on turn 1. Also try and suss out what our opponent is doing. Another plains from our opponent. Seasoned Hollow Blade. Is it just a mono-white aggro? Very interesting. We will go ahead and play the Cave of the Frost Dragon. One can come into play untapped. Go ahead and keep the Mentor. See if they run any sort of removal. If they attack with the Hollow Blade, we'll go ahead and just let it through. We do appear to be going against a mono. I'll take a mono-white list. That's interesting. Ooh, this is... The fact that that's indestructible, isn't it? This is very not good. This isn't to say that we can't go bigger than it, because we can. But it will take some very particular plays here. I think we'll go ahead and play a Mentor here. We're not going to shock in a Temple Garden. Our life total would have loved for that. Go ahead and Star Pupil. We may not be able to outrace our opponent here, since our only form of interaction is one that gets hosed from the indestructible. Also, I apologize for the heating you just heard turn on, but it's the winter, and I'm in the northern hemisphere. It gets cold. Let's see what our opponent does. We're on a, what, a 3-turn clock? I apologize. Thraben Inspector. So it is mono-white from our opponent. I think we should actually, in the sideboard, become the more controlling of the 2 decks. That is the million-dollar question. What do we do? So I guess we can do Swarm Shambler. We'll go ahead and Esper Sentinel. We'll just run out our hand here. I doubt the Esper Sentinel will get much in the way of mileage, but it's just a creature at this point to try and contest the board. Oh, Mana Tithe. I'm so happy. I love this card. Really, I think this card's, like, great. I don't know if... Well, I guess it's the only card you really could. We'll go ahead and attack. If they double trade into our Mentor, we're more than happy to just gain the life right now, as we're looking to just sit and stall and try and buy more turns. See what our opponent does. I have not seen a pure mono-white aggro list in such a long time. This is a lovely change of pace. I will keep this game in even if I win or lose. Solely because we just enjoy other people who are attempting to try new stuff. Maybe we also bring in the oozes, more so for the life gain here? I don't think, because it's 5 mana to activate that, right? It's 1 mana away from being terribly useful. We die next turn no matter what, right? There's, unless they like... No, there's, yeah, we just died no matter what. There's no point in sitting here. We're just going to let the game go as long as we can and see what information we can get. So yeah, maybe we bring in some commands. Let's see, Dromoka's commands, 2 Wrath of Gods, and maybe some Scavenging Ooze for a little bit of life gain. As I believe we will need to become the controlling deck here. Question is, what do we take out? Esper Sentinel is likely a dead card here in this particular instance. So Esper Sentinel can come out. It's 3 copies. Go ahead and let our opponent win. Totally fair and square. And honestly, we were like 1 turn away, basically, from... like 1 or 2 turns away from out-aggroing our opponent. That was a lovely game. So yes, let's see. Some Wrath of Gods, Dromoka's command for some removal. Ooze is where we can get them. Esper Sentinel, they don't run a whole lot of non-creatures, so I imagine that's not going to be the most useful. Same thing with a Swarm Shambler. I don't think they're going to run enough interaction to make the targeting punish really all too useful. Maybe we go down 1 Stonecoil. Since they're a mono white list, they're not going to have many, if any, multicolored for that particular spell to matter. I love this. This is a great game. See what our opponent might bring in. They will likely also probably bring in more controlling tools, I imagine, as they probably also think that they need to turn into the more controlling deck. So it becomes this weird, almost like 2 mid-rangey style things. Oh, that's a bad hand. That's really bad. Somehow even worse. Okay, we'll go 1 more. Okay, that's better. We can do something with this. That's actually significantly better. Keep this. I think we can go ahead and get rid of a snow-covered forest and a Star Pupil. So I think we'll do... Yeah, we'll go ahead and do Stonecoil on 1. Why not? We are on the play, so we're going to try and turn that into aggression and damage to our opponent. Of course, there's cards like Thraben Spectre that just don't want to play along. We will go ahead and play the Ooze now. And we'll also shock this in while we have the relative freedom to lose a couple life here and there. Castle Ardenvale from our opponent. It's honestly very good. Don't attack. I was about to say, that's a silly attack. Don't do that. Okay, we do actually have access to the Wrath of God now. We do know that they were running, what's the word? We do know they were running, Mana Ties, so we have to be careful. The question is, do we keep open green mana to pump the Scavenging Ooze? I think we do. We will either do that or put the Lurrus into our hand, but having access to 2 green is not the worst thing in the world. So if they attack with the Hollow Blade, we throw the Stonecoil in front of it, unless they just Glass Casket our Ooze. Jesus. That's a good ad though. Go ahead and make them discard the card if they really value the Hollow Blade. Also saves the most damage. Being mono white. You didn't have the Thalia main board, did you? No, that's actually not no play. I guess, let's see, white, green. I guess we can go extra whites here just in case. We'll bring Lurrus in. Try and play him next turn. We're more so looking to see if we can force our opponent to commit. That is a... Wow, I guess main deck running it. And weirdly, Lurrus is actually considered multicolored. That's more relevant than most think. So... I guess we just play our own Lurrus, and then we bring back a Stonecoil for like 1, maybe 2 if we draw a land here. I suppose is the play here. Is the correct thing. Ah, yes, that's... Honestly, that's not bad. We can do something with that. I guess we can do... Star Pupil, actually. We'll do that first. This way we can say, put a Lurrus in front of something that it will actually kill. We can put the Pupil in front of this Hollow Blade and force another discard. If we can, we want to Wrath of God when they have no cards to discard to the Hollow Blade to actually ensure it dies. Thalia is a choice. Tithe Taker. Alright, that is a choice you can make. Does he attack or does he wait? Guess we just do you. Yeah, well... Actually, if I'm sweeping the board, we're going to go ahead and full block here. Since if he wants to keep the Hollow Blade, he's going to have to discard a card. He has the other ultimate. So we go ahead and shock to pay for the Thalia attacks and just Wrath of God their board and breathe a sigh of relief. Admittedly, they do get a Afterlife token. But if that's the most they get, we'll happily take it. Likely sacrifices the clue, as he should. Or they should. Let's not be rude and assume. A Shadow Spear. That's a weird choice, but I guess okay. We'll go ahead and Hardened Scales, and then Mikaeus for 3. 3. Hopefully our now larger creature does... Let's see, he hits for 2. So yeah, we're doing okay here. That's the question. Yes, we will just attack with the Mikaeus here. If he does make a creature... Yeah, we're in a little bit of a weird spot. We need some sort of removal here. It's not looking great, but I think we can still totally win from here. If we could draw not a land, that'd be great. That is not a land. That will do it. Sacrifices an enchantment. These are both artifacts, so that won't do anything. So we'll go ahead and Dromoka's Command. 1/1 counter. And we'll make it fight. Mikaeus fighting the Shadow Spear here. Now, they can make a human from the Castle Ardenvale, but if they do, they're more so just doing so to not die. They might actually correctly, yeah, just take the damage. If we get one more creature, we're actually kind of cooking a little bit here. So what, next turn they will equip the Shadow Spear, and I don't know if they might, yeah, they probably do attack here. We're in a weird spot where I don't think we can actually afford to attack anymore. He doesn't have the mana for it. Conclave Mentor is pretty big, honestly. I think we'll go ahead and sit this turn out for the aggression. We can always Mikaeus to put extra 1/1 counters on the Mentor. Also, they can just make more blockers, so this is the correct play by all accounts. They also can't attack themselves. If they do, they just lose the creature. see if they are comfortable enough with that trade anyway. Go ahead and make Mikaeus a little smaller to make our mentor even larger. Another Hardened Scales is honestly very, very good. We're in a weird spot where we kind of can't attack, honestly. But we've largely secured our board here in the board state. Just making sure we're still recording. I apologize for the alt-tabbing you no doubt here. Lurrus is here. Is there anything we really need to worry about? You can only do one thing. Maybe you put in the Thraben Inspector for card draw? Yeah, that's honestly the correct play. If they do nothing with their turn other than draw, we can always make our Mikaeus larger this turn. If we had a... well... yeah, we just need to draw not lands. Drawing more lands really hurts us. That's honestly very good. We'll go ahead and just Fateful Absence the Lurrus out of principle immediately. We don't mind that they get the clue. We want to remove their ability to generate all that value. We kind of can't attack and not die, so we're in this weird spot of two largely stalled board states. Again, we'll just, if nothing else at the end of their turn, make our Mikaeus real large. Or maybe make our Conclave very large this time. Ketra's a good top deck. See what our opponent does. Let's see. Again, I think we can actually make our mentor larger this turn. Okay, another Mikaeus is not what we need here, game. Again, we're in this weird spot where we kind of can't attack. We're just waiting for, like, some relatively good... oh, God. I think this is actually where the game starts to weirdly slip away from us. That's why we only run 2 Mikaeuses here. You don't want to run too many legends. Selfless Savior is actually kind of insanely brutal. Yeah, Ketra's a really good card in mono-white creature-based aggro decks. Gives your traditionally very small bodies a little bit of extra oomph late game, provided you have a Ketra on the board. I mean, if our opponent sits here and just kind of twiddles their thumbs, we might actually stand a chance here. Okay, so we do you here, block you. Or more so, I think we 2, 4, 5, 6. I think we just lose, right? Ah, that's really, really unfortunate. Yeah, we'll go ahead and make things larger, but I think we just lose immediately on the backswing. 2, 4, 6. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Good game, though. Honestly, very good game. I think we would have needed another Wrath of God or something to, like, really push through. That's a great game from our opponent, though, and it was a good showing for what our deck wants to do. We'll go now to game number 2. And game number 2 with our green-white Hardened Scales list. We'll go ahead and keep this. This is a lovely hand, really. Go ahead and Temple Garden on 1, play a Hardened Scales. Planes from our opponent, and those very cute looking Mistbind Click sleeves that I also bought. Another life gain deck, which is an option. I think we'll go ahead and play a Swarm Shambler, and then maybe an Esper Sentinel. This way we also hold up the Fateful Absence. Ooh, Book of Exalted Deeds. This person is taking this deck in a, honestly, very cool direction, all things considered. I think we'll play 1 Star Pupil, leaving open Fateful Absence. Hopefully to answer whatever, admittedly, very fun shenanigans they have planned in their head. many you have to gain? Getting your end step, you gain 3 or more life. Make an angel. And then you can... Ugh, that's not good. Yeah, that's really, really bad. As I lack the real ability to respond to that. I think we just pass, and then on their end step we can always add a counter to the Swarm Shambler. Yeah, that's the old birth of Mikaeus. Ooh, this ain't gonna go good, Jack. I don't know. Okay, so that forsake the for the exile-based removal for artifacts and such is going to be very, very good here. I think we throw the Esper Sentinel in front of that. Then we'll activate the Swarm Shambler in response. I believe... I'm sorry, they don't activate the Heliod's... Oh, it's another target. Right. I misinterpreted the card. I guess we do... We can do Stonecoil for 4. With the Blessing of Frost in our hand, we can always make the Stonecoil big enough to block the Heliod. We're going to go ahead and attack, since we're probably not going to get much more opportunities to do so. Yeah, that's a little weird. I am fascinated with this, though. Again, I think we just let it through. So I believe we now Blessing of Frost, paying with 2 snow mana. We'll put 1 on the Stonecoil and 1 on the Star Pupil, giving us 3 creatures for the card draw. We can go ahead and play a Plains. I almost said Swamp. Play the Esper Sentinel. That way we can chump throw something under the bus. If our opponent has Settle the Wreckage, what are you gonna do? We're basically threatening lethal. Get the fuck out of here! Yeah, alright, yeah, that's a thing they can do. I don't know how many more basics we have, but sure, why not? We'll get 2 forest and 1 plains, as we have another plains in our hand. I mean, if we only... Okay, we can make a really honkin' big Stonecoil next turn. So that's, like, not the worst thing on the planet. Okay. Again, while very... hell. Yeah, that's not good. I think we'll go ahead and just throw the Esper Sentinel under the bus here. That's not good. I think we need to animation module so we can start making 1/1s to throw under to deal with these. I believe is the right way. We'll play this out, but this could go very, very wrong, admittedly. What are they? Oh, it's giving, yeah, that's not good at all. Very bad. Let's see. So we do 3, 4. Okay, so we have 8 mana total. We activate Stonecoil for 7, leaving 1 mana left open to to activate the animation module. So we have something to block the Heliod with. I suppose... Okay, you have to exile the book. That's good. I can always Fateful Absence next turn, whatever they happen to choose to anoint. Maybe that's the word? To enlighten, pardon. Go ahead and auto-pay. Griffin Ares, a little bit of a problem, but I actually am feeling like kind of alright. Yeah, everyone knows you have that main deck Light of Hope. Who hurt you? You have to activate that as sorcery, so we all day long throw that there. Probably life gains multiple things here. Yeah, it's a little not good. It's a lot not good, to be entirely frank. Okay, he's throwing it all on... Hopefully he continues to throw it all on the... That sucks. We might actually lose this, but again, I don't mind it, because this is an interesting game. Go ahead and play the Acolyte here. Activate the animation module to both make our Stonecoil bigger, as well as make the little servo boy to block a Heliod. Real question is, does he... Okay, he does. Okay, how do I answer this? Block you here. We block an Angel and an Acolyte. 6 goes through, we go from 6 to 3. Acolyte gains us 2. So we're at 5. God, this is fucking brutal. Yeah, I know. There's a lot of this life gain stuff floating around, and it's like, they're good decks, and this is admittedly pretty interesting. But they have this weird, like, drawing the game out forever problem that I'm not the biggest fan of. Yeah, they go ahead and win. I'm not gonna sit here and force you guys to continue enduring this stuff. Okay, Forsake the Worldly is honestly a good one here. Dromoka's is not awful. So yeah, I think it's actually, we'll just Wrath just in case, bring in Dromoka's. Esper Sentinel sees very little practical use here. Same thing with the Swarm Shambler. We're never really going to get targeted too much as they're trying to be more aggressive. I'm totally okay with uploading all losses in a video. If it, 1, shows what the deck we're playing is actually doing, and 2, shows an opposing deck that's like kind of interesting, which is what's happening here. This is really bad, but they've got lands, so I guess we have to keep this. We're not in a good enough position here, being down a game to afford throwing away like a relatively good hand. Go ahead and cave on 1. Maybe we, hopefully, gods, I hope so, draw a green source that can come into play untapped. So I don't specify. Okay, that's something actually. Having enough swamps to forsake the worldly a Heliod is honestly very good. What does our opponent have? I guess that Fading Light, whatever that's called, I imagine, is the one card we know about. Of course, God knows what else they have in their deck. What are you foretelling? Okay, that's not a green. Again, we're fine because it gives us Forsake the Worldly here. That's cool. I'm not actually the most concerned about that. I think we're okay to go ahead and just play the Stonecoil for 4. We still have the Forsake the Worldly. They can't do anything too terribly degenerate on 3 lands here that I'm, like, terribly concerned about. And even a Doom Foretold, whatever that's, is foretold. The sweeper that can be foretold. Even if that is what they've tucked away here. It does, I believe, still require 2 white mana. Again, now we can just keep the Forsake the Worldly open. Sorry, Ghost Court. Please, destroy my cave so I can get a green. I'm totally okay with you doing that, actually. Since I can't pay the X if it comes back, there's not even really a point to spazzing too much. Okay. Go ahead and use this in particular. Please, please Ghost Quarter my cave. Which sounds oddly like an innuendo that I didn't mean it to, but that's fine. We'll do what we can here. If they do... This battlefield draw a card, side crowd. Okay. It's a lot of hoops to jump through to get your Griffin Airy. I mean, it's okay, I guess, for a Book of Exalted Deeds trigger, but even then, that's a lot of hoops to jump through. But yeah, go ahead. Let our opponent do his thing. Their thing. Pardon. Animation module's not awful. That is not the worst thing on the planet. If you get rid of our animation module, I think I'll somehow live with myself. Activation does have a white in its cost. Okay. We're in this weird spot where, like, we're both... They have a lot of, like, colorless, like, tech lands. Again, totally fine. We're more so concerned with Heliod doing absolutely goofy-ish. Yeah, you're making some griffins. That is a thing. Oh, they have 2 colorless. I don't have to worry about anything else. I'm telling you, man, once I draw a green source, we are cooking. That is not a green source, but I guess it'll do. Sometimes you also just lose because you don't draw the color of mana you need sometimes. Yeah, do your thing. Another Griffin Airy, which is wonderful. It's a light of hope and make. I'm actually gonna die to Griffin Airy. All right, we're both doing silly, goofy stuff. Nothing but respect, though. I applaud others who are committed to the brewing game. I guess we start, yeah, like trying to get rid of stuff. I think I need, like, exactly a sweeper not to die next turn, right? In some weird, bizarro, like, what world are we in, kind of. I think, I literally need a sweeper not to die, so I have to exile this card. I don't think that saves us. Nor does that. Right? Attacked with 5. Yeah, we just died. That sucks. We'll be a good sport and let him win fair and square. Sometimes you just lose, but again, I applaud anybody who does commit to brewing. This has largely been my experience with green-white Hardened Scales. It's like just not quite enough. Even green-black wasn't great, but there was black cards that allowed you to recover from board wipes better. Like that Grakmaw and even Pelucranos. Those cards allow you, by their nature of being black, to better survive sweepers and stuff like that. And black has a little bit... The black had more, like, removal than I did run in this list, which might be a mistake. But still, a very fun deck. I don't think I would waste the craft on it if you're looking to craft it at home. Go ahead and save your wild cards for other decks. Like, hell, even the green-black variant is a better craft than this. But it's the only other color that has green-white, in this case, being the only other color combination that actually has Hardened Scales support. But anywho, thank you all for watching. Remember to like the video if you liked it, sub if you like my content, and if you have any sort of questions, as long as they're, you know, polite and civil, that's what comments are for down below. Thank you all, and remember, I'm pulling for you. We're all in this together.